That one actually smells good. Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Jackson Makoto, as you definitely see in the channel description. And today we're going to talk about something that I know you don't want to talk about, but it actually has to be done. Now, what I am actually going to be describing today is the beautiful world of technical resumes. I know I didn't want to do it back then, and I'm pretty sure that you don't want to do it right now. But we kind of have to go through this so that we can actually land that perfect technical job that we've been searching after, coming up next. So what is a technical resume? A technical resume is pretty much like any other resume that you've written before, let's say for a nanny job or even walking dogs in the park. But this one is more detailed and fits what you've studied so far and any work experience that you have had, all encapsulated in no more than 2 pages. I know that sounds pretty crazy, but it really has to be condensed and precise, but I'll go into that pretty much a little bit later. But just so you know, a technical resume is pretty much like the rest that you've done, just that this one's more special because you go into the finer and granular details of what you've learned so far in technology, whether that's a new language or even a hackathon. That's the type of details that recruiters are after. So yeah, that pretty much sums up what a technical resume is. And now we are going to go into the top 5 tips that I recommend in your technical resume. Let's go. Tip number 1 definitely goes to choosing the right template. Now, I'm not talking about your typical black and white standard resume template. I'm talking about having something that really wants to draw the attention of the recruiter. Now, this can be something along the lines of a really bright template, something that shows your picture, something that describes your skill set in a more visual sense rather than, just reading a bunch of text. So I've actually linked up a couple of links that I personally like to look at whenever I want to really just zhuzh up my resume and make it more attractive. So tip number 1 definitely goes to ensuring that your template looks really, really attractive. You want it to kind of embody what your personality is like, but on paper. How cool is that? Okay, so tip number 2 is pretty much very simple, especially if you have accumulated, let's say, certificates or even achievements so far in either your academic career or your professional career, whatever stage of life that you're in. You really want to list all the achievements that you've got so far. So this can be something like, hackathons or even memberships. I know some of the memberships that I have on my resume is the ACS membership that I've been involved with so far, and also a number of volunteering programs that I've done with them as well. Because at the end of my volunteer career, I was able to get a certificate to show that I've done this for the number of high school students that I was teaching, or the number of shows or performances that I was actually speaking at. So I was able to use that kind of skill set that I've gathered so far and just kind of put it out there. Now, you don't have to go in too much into detail as to what exactly you've done during those type of speaking events, or even what you've done to kind of achieve that award. All you have to do is list the award, or if you've done like a volunteer program, just basically put in the title of the volunteer program as well as the start and the end date. So that's the type of detail that they're into. You want to really keep it very short, especially if you've got like a number of award certificates, or you've been involved in a number of hackathons. You really want to just keep it concise, and at the bare minimum you can mention the start and the end date of whatever you've participated in so far. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Tip number 2 is definitely list all the awards, certificates, hackathons, volunteer programs that you've participated in and that are relevant to what they're looking for. So you don't want to mention any detail that's kind of irrelevant in your listings. You really want to ensure, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was gonna say. Bruh. Tip number 3 is obviously what work experience have you done so far. Have you gotten an internship? Have you done any work experience? I know you can do work experience here in Australia in high school. Have you done any of that? That's the kind of detail that they're looking for. Again, don't go too much into detail. At the most, I say keep it as maybe a 2-sentence line if you really want to describe exactly what your role was there. But all you want to have is something like graduate developer. You know, I started on the 1st of July of 2019 and I finished on the 2nd of April of 2020. That's it. You can also list what your skill set in terms of programming languages that you've learned down you know, more visually, but you really don't want to go too much into detail. You can save that type of detail for maybe your cover letter. That's the best place you want to put that in. You know, I know recruiters don't want to spend too much time looking at this kind of detail. They just want to really know that, have you got the experience? Okay, what were the skills that you've acquired, any languages? And that's pretty much it. That's really all they want to know, and everything else they can pretty much find out once you actually, you know, get a sit-in interview. All right, so now we're going to look at tip number 4. Now this one is very simple and I've pretty much been describing this throughout this video, and it's basically keeping your resume short, concise, and straight to the point. Now, you really don't want to mention you don't want to give off too much of yourself in your resume. You kind of do want to keep a lot of information hidden. You've got the essentials on there, and then, you know, once you go into the interview, you have something to talk about. You know, you don't want to, you know, describe all of your experience that you've gathered so far in your graduate career. And then once you get to the interview, it's just like you know, a situation where the recruiter's like, yeah, we've heard that. What else do you have to offer? You know, you don't want that kind of scenario. So you just want to give the bare minimum. Look, I've started here at this job, and that's it. And then they can come in during your interview and ask you those type of questions. I know when I first wrote my first technical resume, it was boring, it was stale. I checked last night, and my first resume was about 5, 6, 7 pages long. Yes, I did have all of this experience that I really wanted to just, you know, kind of explain to the best of me. But once an actual recruiter looked at my resume, they're just like, whoa, Jax, this is a bit too much information. So I really had to condense all of that information down to 2 pages. It was really hard, but I'm sure that if you follow the steps that I am listing in this video, it'll be pretty much simple. So yeah, keep it short, keep it concise, keep it down to 2 pages if you can, and that's it. Okay, so tip number 5 goes to adding in more details, or, you know, kind of describing who you are outside of your career, or even within your career, but within the social circles, your technical circles. So if you do have social media such as LinkedIn, or even collaborative platforms such as GitHub, this is the type of links that you want to publish onto your resume. So I do recommend starting up a LinkedIn as soon as you start university. That way you are able to, you know, list out all your awards, list out all your, you know, your skill set in a new programming language, or even like a new environment. That's the type of detail that you want to put in LinkedIn, and then you can share that with the public. So once you get a new award for a hackathon, then you can share it with your technical circle online. And yeah, just kind of build it up as you go, because the last thing you really want to do is start a LinkedIn when you're desperate for it. So that may be the last year of uni, in your 3rd or your 4th year, and that's when you start your resume. Then it just becomes really messy, and you know, there's no thought process to it, there's no refining, and it's just really stressful. So I suggest starting up a LinkedIn as soon as possible, as soon as you start uni, or even high school, if you've got that, you know, if you've got enough detail to start up that type of platform. And the second is, you really, this is something that I learned in my 2nd year, which was pretty much late for me, but you really want to start off a GitHub. Now, you might be asking exactly what can I put on my GitHub? This can be totally anything at all. Now you do want to not put any assignment answers onto GitHub. I know it's really tempting, especially if you find like a really cool way of solving a problem, but you kind of don't want to do that at all. I'm sure it breaches your university policy, but you can pretty much take the problem that you've solved in an assignment and kind of reword it, or you know, adjust the problem to solve another one. And how cool is that? You can take one problem, make a new one from the first problem, and solve that problem, and then you can publish it on your GitHub. I think that's really good, a good way to show what your coding style is, how clean your code is, what policies or procedures that you followed. That's the type of detail that I think is really important. It shows how talented you are, how smart you are, how well you are at solving the problem, and that's detail that's really important for putting into your resume. So yeah, so if you can start up social media platforms such as LinkedIn, and you want to also link up your GitHub, that would be fantastic. Another bonus tip is to really keep your online image clean. So you don't want to put up, you know, your Facebook on there knowing that you do keep personal photos, or, you know, share personal experiences with the public or your close friends. You really don't want to share that type of detail. Make sure all your other accounts that you've got, such as Instagram or Facebook, are all private. You don't want anyone dabbling into your personal life, but you know, the stuff that really shows your talent, such as your LinkedIn and your GitHub, and maybe your Discord if you really host channels like that for technical stuff, or even if you have a YouTube like mine, this is the type of detail that you want to include in your resume. Anything outside of that, make sure your accounts are private. That's my bonus tip. Bonus tip number 2 is definitely ensure that you take your resume to a recruiter. They can give you tips on how to improve. That's how I was able to make this video, and how my resume is pretty much very cool, I must admit. I spent a bit of time on that, and I'm really happy with the outcome. But you really want to get your resume looked at by a recruiter. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. It was really short and sweet, and I hope you really took something from this video and learned. I know writing resumes is not the best of activities to do, but once you actually get it right the first time, it's pretty much an updating process from there. So all you have to do is make sure you keep, you know, both a PDF and a Word version of your template, and just update as you go, you know, adjust the dates as you go. And yeah, that, you know, change up the template as you go as well, because, you know, the styles do go out of formats do go out of styles rather, and you really want to ensure that your resume sticks out from the crowd. So I'm happy you are here. I'm happy you're ready to learn. I hope you guys have learned something from this video, and if you did, I hope you do like, a comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. So stay fabulous and definitely stay groovy.